Thank you all. Thank you very much for this opportunity to discuss field of arts in regards to leadership. I find it very important and inspiring, especially in this moment. We know that field of arts, or cultural sector, as we call it in our part of the world, cultural sector is a mirror of the whole society. So actually, if you see changes in the field of arts or in cultural sector, they are almost duplicate or happening in parallel in every other field. So it's very easy to follow the changes through the field of arts. Also, arts was always a kind of incubator for change. So maybe in this topic can also serve in that sense. When we talk about leadership in arts, we cannot discuss it without or separately from the cultural policy of all the system where it's operating, public spheres where it's operating. But still, in order to understand leadership in arts, it's important to understand or to mention several characteristics for this field that they are influencing leadership within the system and providing some special circumstances in which leadership is operating. First of all, cultural sector or field of arts, the people play a central role in this sector, which means that there is a diversity of people who are participating in the cultural field and covering different roles. Therefore, we have artists as a main force, but also their professional staff, their cultural professionals, technical professionals, administrative staff, and all different people who are participating and collectively creating one system. This diversity of people coming into cultural fields are also creating complexity in the workforce, in a sense that all these people have different positions and different rules are applicable to them. So in the cultural field, we have people who are permanent staff, we have temporary staff, we have a lot of volunteers. So all of these people are covered with different contracts, operating under different work rules. Therefore, the question of leadership additionally is challenged through this point. Also, these differences between different positions creating power asymmetrics and dependencies within the system. Additional element that is forcing this leadership to mutate, to change all the time, and not to be flexible, and maybe sometimes estimated or not properly developed within the system are also the fact that the source of funding in the cultural sector is greatly influencing the power dynamic within arts organizations and dictate their internal structure and dynamics, which means that some of the arts institutions are public, they are fully budgeted by the state, and they're operating under one part of rules. On the other side, there are non-institutional organizations, non-governmental organizations with unstable financial support operating under completely different rules. Then there is a mixed version of the organizations, partly public by the state and in the market, therefore creating completely different group of organizations and different working dynamic and power dynamic within the system. Also, under these circumstances, there is no precise defined set of activities, because in the cultural sector, we know people and artists are the main force, and the events and occasions, situations, art results are the focus. They are deadlines, they are a particular way of life and work, which is in most of the cases unwell balanced, creating problem to precisely defined set of activities for each person who is participating. Also, it's very hard to divide leadership on one side with the managerial tasks on the other side. So there is always, there is no one recipe for leadership when it comes to cultural sector. Also, we have very underestimated human resources management there because of all these circumstances, as I mentioned before. And the human resources management is actually understood in a very narrow and operational way. It's understood only as a technical set of tools helping to overcome some particular situation, but it's never developed into the system that can actually help the people who are in charge in this field. So according to all of these elements that I briefly informed you about, there are several theories. I will not go into that. I just want to say that traditional theories covering leadership in arts heavily, but they are applying or discussing leadership in arts from 3 points of view: from the leaders, as Dr. Wood said, leadership style, defining leadership styles, how people are behaving as leaders, and so on. Situations in which leader can be set up within the system, that would be the second approach, and maybe relationships that are built within the system between the leader and other members of the team as a third point of view. But according to this, this is theoretical approach, I would say mainly accepted. But when we go through the field and in the field, and we work in the field with artistic organization, actually we cannot easily apply all these approaches, theoretical approaches, but we can discuss about leadership in arts in maybe two different ways. So on one side, we have so-called hierarchical management leadership that is mainly applied in the field of arts, and value-based management leadership, which is something that is happening in the field, something which is maybe in most of the cases under the radar, and something what is heavily applicable in the field in a modern time, as we said, in the contemporary world. When we talk about this hierarchical managerial leadership, we know it's a hierarchy, like in every institution. We have, it's governed by the director, it's governed by the board, it's controlled from the top, mostly, in most of the cases, from the Ministry of Culture. These are institutions financially stable. So it's a system that we are all aware of, and there is a most common system of leadership in our public sector, in all systems. But what is in the field of arts, this kind of system lately, especially in last decade or two, it's creating a lot of problems in the field, because in most of the cases, the people who are in charge are not at the same time leaders. But the leaders, as we know that the leader is supposed to inspire the group and be the one that the group will follow, in some of the cases, or lately, most of the cases, the leaders are becoming just members of the group. So in that sense, we're creating this discrepancy between the formal leadership that is set up by and governed by the rules, and we have some how would I say, additional or non-structural leadership that is happening in the system or in the arts organization. So in that case, these troubles are creating problems in decision-making, problems in artistic results, and actually lately, I'm maybe brave to say, creating pretty much mediocre results because of all of these situations. On the other side, we have value-based management leadership that I would like to discuss a bit now, which is happening in all art fields in all our countries. And these are all organizations in which group of artists, they are all created as non-governmental organizations, as foundations, or just a movement from the group of artists in which they are gathered around joint values. And that is the main difference in leadership, in which these organizations do not have a luxury to not have a leader as the one who is in charge. Contrary, their leader must be the one who is in charge, otherwise they will not make any impact in the world. So in that sense, they are really gathered around their values. Of course, they are financially unstable. These are always small organizations, always people who are just maybe one or two on permanent contracts. All of them are temporarily in charge or temporarily engaged, a lot of volunteers. So very unstable situation within the organization that can create another issues that I briefly mentioned, but in the sense of leadership, creating the most important results in the field. So in Montenegro, for example, but I can say probably on all these countries in this region, or maybe all Eastern Europe, we can see a strong division between public institutions, hierarchical management leadership institutions on one side, and non-institutional organizations creating huge impact in the field of arts. Therefore, there were some discussions regarding this leadership, not only never discussed as a special version of leadership, but discussed as a way of public policy, in which were discussed to maybe create a lot of smaller organization, fast, adaptable organization that they can catch up with the movements and the fast modern world, than to maybe avoid all these huge institutions that are slow, especially in the field of arts, more and more unadaptable and unpractical. I think I'm out of time. I would just add one more thing that I think it's important here, that today, what is helping for now at this point. I don't know how things is going to be next year, because things are changing so fast, especially in the field of arts, but probably everywhere they're moving so fast, and we are just changing the ideas and changing the opinions. So I can say I'm officially confused about many things. But what is important to add, that in these leadership issues, the artificial intelligence that is entering in a huge in the cultural sector is actually today at the point to assist and help institutions. So still at the cultural field is accepted as a tool that can help to leaders and CEOs and in charge people to bring smarter decisions, efficient operations, to develop faster, to create strategic plans and definitions much more consistent and maybe more efficient. But still, it's not entering into the artistic and creative field of the cultural sector, but this is just information from today. So probably the change will be very, very soon. Thank you.
Bravo, Nataša, thank you so very much. I'm sure Violeta would like to add more. You have gone through many key aspects that not only apply from Montenegro, apply from many countries, and I think what you have said is a whole topic. I don't know if Violeta agree with me. A whole topic for a webinar. No, what is art, leadership in art, and what is the influence from the state on that? How we could manage values on that, and what happened with this, I could say dictatorship, Nataša, from the state on what is leadership in art. We could say that dictatorship is too much. Because
I'd like
unsuccessful dictatorship.
Unsuccessful. But in general, the dictatorships are unsuccessful.
Okay. Okay.
Violeta first, and then please the other one. If you could raise your hand, so I could see if you wanted to add, please.
Dictatorships are awful. They always cause a complete destruction of the system. But what I would like to ask you, Nataša, you pointed out very clearly that on one hand, they are administrative, hierarchical, top-down structures. On the other hand, you have this art community where everything is dynamic and predictable, in a very changing state. So how do you interact? How do you find the way, or what is the way to find a common ground for these institutions? Because at the end, you do have to work with them as well. So do you have any good case practice to share, or advice how this could work well, and what do you do in order to get it working?
This structure that I mentioned, it's common, so it's nothing new, but it's really in the field, depends from country to country. And that depends because the cultural sector is so sophisticated, and it's tiny actually when it comes to the whole society. Also, without a lot of money, let's say, properly. So this sector is actually very, very unstable as such. So all these divisions that I mentioned in my presentation, and you pointed out, is happening everywhere. How things are overcoming this situation, it's almost, I still think there is no one recipe. For example, here in Montenegro, there is completely different situation from the other republic, ex-Republic of Yugoslavia, even though we have completely the same system. I mean, we grew out from the same system, which means that it's very linked to the locality and local people and local understanding of arts. In Montenegro, for example, there is now a huge movement in trying to resolve this division between a non-institutional movement and the public institutions. So now what is happening, that the public institutions are reaching out towards all this artistic non-institutional sector to participate together, to join together into joint activities. So this is what is happening. Also, we are now doing the reform on the law and culture, which is changing this division, trying to put them together by creating some in between ad hoc bodies through contracts, in a sense, to overlap this division, which all these divisions, as I said, happen in all other countries, Eastern Europe, fully in every country, but the modality of overcoming this issue, it's really local thing. That's how I understand.
Thank you, Nataša. Someone else that wanted to add something to Nataša? Yes, Valerie, Veronica, Roser, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Maren. Thank you, Nataša, for such an insightful presentation. So I wanted to make more of a commentary than a question, actually, if I'm allowed to, because especially the last part of Nataša's presentation, when she mentioned AI, caught my attention for obvious reasons. And I do agree that AI has come to be a powerful tool to help us lead in a more collective and efficient manner. And the example she mentioned reminded me of a case, a very recent case, in which UAE has become the first country to express their interest in using AI to legislate, to propose new legislation, to monitor new trends for regulatory needs. So I just wanted to add to that point by mentioning that indeed AI can be a very powerful tool. It can serve us, not only contribute to that not very positive part, as some authors have mentioned, by, for instance, assisting in creating new regulatory frameworks, or in helping decide or take decisions in a more managerial manner.
Thank you. Yes, here, here this AI topic is still entering into all the system from various ways. So we are still not completely feeling comfortable. Probably this is not the only society behaving like that, but really in regards to the cultural sector, it's assisting in a managerial and leadership way.